think there's, Do
Okay.
you have to have lipo before Renuvion, or can you use Renuvion alone in some areas? And before you answer that, can I just say, is it worth mentioning that Renuvion in the States was called something else?
Yeah, Renuvion in the States was originally called J-Plasma, so if you want to Google it.
Just because it's been around a lot longer as J-Plasma
but
in the States.
actually, even in the States now, it's just known as Renuvion. So the company that makes it is called Apix, but Apix is a spin-off of another company called Bovi. Bovi is the great-granddaddy of medical and surgical devices. You know, we don't say, hand me the electrocautery, you'll say, hand me the Bovi. In the same way that you're going to Hoover, you're not going to sort of suction lift that, exactly. So you'll get sort of older generation surgeons just grunting Bovi, and they'll expect to be handed something that's going to stop bleeding. Now they came across this plasma technology and suddenly realized it had this huge aesthetic indication, and they weren't an aesthetic company. So they launched a spin-off of their own called Apix, which is their aesthetic arm. They have one product, Renuvion. That's all Apix does, and it has just been absolutely storming. So it is the most FDA approved tissue tightening device in the world. It's just brilliant. So the question: do you have to have lipo before Renuvion, or can you just use Renuvion? Okay. You sort of have to have lipo, but you don't necessarily need to switch the lipo machine on. So that doesn't make sense. Okay, I've got some photos that demonstrate this really nicely, but fat in your body is encased in this collagen network, and it's that collagen network that's normally got sort of fat all around it that is the target for Renuvion. It is those specific fibers, and I've seen them, I've got photographs of them. These aren't microscopic things, these are big things, kind of like a fishing net. And it is that the Renuvion targets. So you need it not to be encased in fat. What you actually do is you open up the spaces between them with helium gas. So what I would normally do is liposuction somebody, and then inflate the helium gas into the space, and then you pass the Renuvion through that space, and it arcs in this sort of plasma, which is like a little arc of lightning, which heats those collagen fibers really quickly, and then they just immediately contract, and they contract sort of 30-40% by 30 to 40% of their length. So it's really a significant contraction pretty much immediately in 0.04 seconds, as it happens. I've been geeking out on this stuff. Now, what if you don't have fat? What if you don't have the fat that needs liposuction? Well, in those cases, you still use a liposuction cannula just to open up the spaces, but you don't need to actually turn the suction on, so you don't need to aspirate the fat, but you still need to have a space that you can then inflate with helium so that you can get your device in to actually have room to arc to where it's needed. Because if you didn't do that, you'd just be passing this sort of hot stick, this hot device, through fat, and all that's going to do is melt fat in lines. So that's not what you want to do at all. So yeah, you do have to have lipo. Even if you don't need lipo, we need to just use a lipo type machine just to create the space. It doesn't have to be much lipo. It could even just be 10 minutes of sort of wandering around with lipo. We wouldn't even charge you for the lipo if you didn't need lipo with it. I would just call it Renuvion.